Welcome to this video on media management. On the CISSP exam, you may get a question or two about media and how to protect that media. So we are going to talk about that in this video. Now, media is just basically the medium capable of storing data. It's nothing more complicated than that. It's hard drive, a solid state drive, a backup tape, a CD, a DVD, mobile device. It could be a thumb drive. It could be a lot of different things, anything that can store and maintain data. That's what we are talking about here. What most important is that the confidentiality, integrity and availability of the data is accounted for all the time. That's the primary focus. Those are our tenet of security. It's also important to account for the fact that the media has a finite lifestyle, meaning it has a mean time to failure. All media is different, but hard drives have a life cycle. They have a lifespan of what they are expected to operate. Now, some can go beyond that and some don't make it to their lifespan. Same with the disk, same with the solid state drive, same with the thumb drive. There's only so many saves you can do because it's flash based memory, so this is going to impact data availability. As hard drive, certainly hard drive with disk, as they age, they tend to become a little bit slower to retrieve data. That's going to impact availability. So we have to know those things, and again, that's why we have a good inventory and we track our assets, so that we can track these things, know when it is probably time to replace the hard drive and replace them before they fail on us, okay, and when this media is properly marked, and then it can also be handled as well, and that can protect confidentiality, integrity and availability as well. Now, if you recall from previous video, we talk about the data life cycle, where we have data protection that has to happen throughout the entire life cycle from creation to destruction. What we are talking about with media is we are really focused on storage. That's really on our focus here. Once data is created and we certainly label it, now we know how to handle it. It's going to be stored somewhere until it becomes used. And that's what media is all about. When it is used, it's access for media. When it saves, it's saved on media. When it transfer to another media. This is where we are going with this video. Now we can discuss a lot of this in domain 2. So I am going to recap all of it. But definitely I want to focus on marking and labeling asset. This is really important. We want to make sure that we mark, physically identify the asset. In this case, we are talking about the media, whether it be a hard drive or disk or a thumb drive or an external hard drive or a solid state drive. Whatever it is, we want to make sure that there is label on it that contain the sensitivity or the classification of the data. That can be on the drive or on that media. If we want to label it, we want to label the data. This is a digital marketing where we actually put this label in the metadata. We put it hard drive coded, whatever it is. So what we are talking about here is we are going to label assets like this would be a sticker, a secret sticker. You would put this on a hard drive. That way, if we are, hey, we are going to get rid of this server, and we pull it out of the rack and we open it, and we need to discard the memory and the hard drive as part of the sanitization. We can look at the hard drive and go, whoa, that was a secret sticker on it. We probably need to be careful here. And the same could be said about any kind of data that is stored on the media. We want to digitally mark it, and also we want to digitally label or add to metadata. And that help us to ensure that anything on the media is properly protected or handled. So when it comes to the media, one of the most popular thing is removable media, thumb drive and disk and so on. We want to make sure that we have proper physical security controls applied for these media devices. So we want to clearly mark them with stickers, markers, tags, whatever. We want to make sure they are marked. We want to make sure they are encrypted wherever possible. And then we want to make sure that our backup tape, if it is tape media is properly stored in a safe, a lockable container, or some kind of vault where it is properly protected. And if we are going to take this media outside of the facility or outside of our control, we want to make sure that proper security controls are applied. So this protects the data while it is in transit or transport, when whatever it's going. This is super important, because if you are talking backup tapes or a recovery site, they have to be protected while they are in transport or in transit. Data must also be properly sanitized of the media when it is deemed to no longer be needed or valuable. So we discussed sanitization in domain 2, but this has to do with data remanence. We want to make sure that if we are going to sanitize that hard drive and reuse it somewhere, that we properly destroy the data, sanitize it properly, so that the data can never be recovered by someone who might be using this drive at a lower classification level. And we also want to replace any media before the mean time to failure became realized. This is done as part of the continuous monitoring. It's also done as part of the asset security, those kind of things. This is important because hard drive will fail, and when they do, like if we are in a valid or they are in a some kind of backup device or something like that, if they fail, it can definitely impact the availability of the data, and it can also impact a lot of other controls where you have that single point of failure. So the bottom line for this video is to understand the purpose of media management and the protection of the media.